In spot number 10 is Bow Wow, or better known as Lil Bow Wow, but I think he upgraded his name when he grew up and Lil wasn't as cool anymore. Was it ever really cool though? He first broke into the hip hop scene in 2000 with his debut album called Beware of Dog when he was just 12 years old. So it's fair to say he's been in the industry for a really long time. He's had a very successful career along the way, even dabbling in some acting, booking roles in Ugly Betty, Entourage, and CSI. But we haven't heard or seen much from him in the last few years, and until I researched it, I honestly didn't even know what he was up to these days. He's still trying to pursue music, but it seems like he's losing some hope with it. In 2018, he tweeted, "I'ma quit all this shit, downsize my home, sell effing everything, and go work at GameStop." He is currently on a tour with Omarion. I honestly don't even know who that is, if I'm being honest. But what do you guys think? Do you think it is time to just give up the whole music thing and maybe work at GameStop? I think so. Lil Bow Wow. He was a cute kid though. Coming in number 9 is Amanda Bynes. It's actually weird to think that it's been a decade since we saw her in a movie. You're probably like, whoa. Her last film credit was Easy A in 2010. That is crazy. She was one of the most popular actresses in Hollywood, appearing in pretty much every movie that was coming out at the time. But throughout the years, we've seen her struggle with drugs, alcohol, and also her mental health. And that is no joke to me, so having her on this list is not to discredit her mental health. She came back in 2018 with the plan to return to acting and complete a fashion program in school. But then sadly, we find out she relapsed and was living in a sober living facility. So we didn't think we'd hear from her for a while until she surprised us by posting a new picture on Instagram. Looks like she's rocking a new face tattoo. With all due respect, I honestly just think she needs to give up on the idea of Hollywood and fame, like once and for all, and just focus on her health. I get she wants to have a big comeback, but girl, get yourself in a good place first. Sniping our number 8 spot is Scott Disick. Let's be honest here, the only reason anyone even knows who he is because he dated Kourtney Kardashian and is also the father of her children. People got to know him through their reality show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and from there, he was able to start a career for himself in fashion and promotion work. But ever since they broke up, he's really only in the media if it involves other people. Like the time the paparazzi caught him kissing a much younger actress, Bella Thorne. But he is currently dating Sophia Richie, so once again, he is only receiving fame through someone who is actually famous. If you want to follow along and see what he's doing since leaving the Kardashian family, you can find him on his Instagram. And his handle is @LetTheLordBeWithYou. Oh yeah, he goes by the name The Lord, not Scott. And I'm not kidding. Next up at number 7 is Iggy Azalea. Kinda forgot about her, you guys, I'm not gonna lie. However, there's no denying that she did have some hit songs. I definitely was one of those people jamming to Black Widow like it was nobody's business. But over the past couple of years, she kind of faded from the spotlight and burned some bridges after saying things that turned her fans into enemies. She sent out some homophobic tweets and ended up losing her performance slot at the Pittsburgh Pride Parade because fans were saying they weren't going if she was performing. The scandal ended up costing her a few of her shows to follow that, and since then her career has never really been the same. As of 2018, she's under a new label and is still working hard at putting out new music, probably with hopes that one of them will just stick like some of the other ones did, but it just does not seem to be the case. Sliding to number 6 is Paris Hilton. She became known for her blonde ditzy personality in the TV series The Simple Life, but then went on to create a solo career doing modeling, fashion, some acting, and some music. She's dabbled with all of it and found success in all categories, so I mean, she's gotta be doing something right. She was one of Hollywood's hottest stars for over a decade, but in more recent years, she pretty much has been forgotten about. She tried to come back into the spotlight in 2019 and released a brand new single with a music video to go with it. Her song is called Best Friend's Ass, and it was written about her BFF Kim Kardashian, who also appears in the music video, by the way. Like, I want to tell you to go watch it, but I also don't want you to waste your time. Her song received a ton of negative reviews online. I honestly don't think she'll be touring anytime soon. I personally don't mind Paris Hilton. Honestly, I just feel like she had a good run, and like maybe it's time to just like give up on the whole Hollywood career idea. Maybe find something else. I don't know. Halfway through at number 5 is former Disney star Brenda Song. For many people, she will forever be known as London Tipton, not Brenda Song. For many years, she played the role of the ditzy rich girl on Disney's hit show, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. And it's probably the most notable thing she's done throughout her entire career, if we're being honest. But we cannot say that she hasn't tried to make a significant acting career for herself since leaving the Disney franchise. For a long time, she was actually dating Miley Cyrus's brother, Trey Cyrus, and often made headlines for being on and off all the time with him. But that's pretty much all the news that she was bringing to the tabloids. She did surprise fans when making her first big comeback with the 2019 Netflix horror movie called Secret Obsession. People thought it might be what put her back on the map, but instead she received a ton of negative reviews online. She also worked on the TV series Dollface, but after reading all the comments online, it just seems like fans can't separate her from her London Tipton character. And I don't really blame them, because I can't either. Seeing her in that scary movie was like really weird. Here we are at number 4 and we have Nicole Scherzinger, known for being the lead singer of the girl group the Pussycat Dolls. What the hell ever happened to them? One day I am singing karaoke to Don't You Wish Your Girlfriend Was Hot Like Me, and the next day they're like completely MIA. The group ended up splitting up, which was like heartbreaking for girls in my generation, but Nicole went on to pursue a solo career. Let's keep it real though, it did not go very far. In more recent years, she appeared on the X Factor UK as one of the judges and also guest judge on an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. It seems like she's still trying to make solo career for herself, but I just don't think it'll ever be the same as her time with the Dolls. I feel like they should have just kept riding that group out. Like, where would they be now if they just like stayed together? Moving on to number 3, we have Heidi, Montag, and Spencer Pratt. They come as a package deal because they are married and because I make the rules on this channel. The couple gained fame together on the TV reality series The Hills, but they weren't famous for any good reasons. They were actually known for being the series' villains. After the series ended, they went broke because they couldn't find work and they went too stir crazy with all their money from the show. Heidi tried to produce some music to find fame again, but nothing ever really got noticed, and Spencer created a crystals company, which does well, but if we're being real, no one really cares. They reprised their spot on the reboot of The Hills in 2019, but many people were saying that they were only watching the series for the other cast members, not them. The worst part is that they openly talk about how they want to be famous again. They even started their own hashtag make Spidey famous again. That is so embarrassing. Like, just give it up, you guys. Let it go. Winning the number 2 spot on our list is Lindsay Lohan. This one kind of makes me sad because she was a huge part of my childhood and I actually really like her as an actress. But after being in the spotlight for 2 decades, she started to have a downward spiral that has now come to basically a complete stop. It all started back in 2007 when she was arrested for a DUI and later charged for possession of cocaine and a misdemeanor hit and run following that incident. Her court dates were heavily documented and I will never forget the moment when she was sentenced to jail time. She was sentenced to spend 120 days in a county jail and 480 hours of community service. I don't know if that's fair that you get to like do jail time and then get out and like become famous again, but I really do like her. She did try with her own MTV reality show called Lindsay Lohan's Beach Club. She actually opened her own beach club in Mykonos and filmed her entire hiring process, but the show never got a second season and her club closed shortly after the show aired. Low key, I am hoping that she has a comeback. Somehow, some way, I will watch it. Finally, at number 1 we have Aaron Carter. I hate to be the one to say it, but the only reason he was ever famous was because he is Nick Carter's brother, one of the iconic Backstreet Boys. But if we take the Backstreet Boys connection away from Aaron Carter, he is kind of a nobody. And in more recent years, he's actually really been struggling with personal family issues and a severe drug addiction. He lost his sister tragically to an overdose in 2012, and things just basically started to spiral from there. Nick has actually filed a restraining order against his own brother because of his erratic and threatening behavior. But Aaron is still hoping to gain some kind of fame. He recently was going on this tangent online, tweeting out that he is still in love with Hilary Duff, making claims that they will be together one day. Keep in mind, if you don't know their history, they dated when they were like 13 years old, and Hilary is happily married and a mother of 2. I think all ships have sailed for him at this point, and he just needs to seek help rather than fame. And I honestly am I say that in a genuine way. Starting us off at number 10 is Nicole Scherzinger, also known as Snooki. She skyrocketed into fame after starring on MTV's hit series Jersey Shore, where her nickname Snooki was soon known all over the world. After 6 seasons, the show came to an end in 2009, and Snooki spent the next decade getting married, starting a family, and building her own business called The Snooki Shop. Fans were thrilled to hear that Jersey Shore was rebooting 9 years later in 2018 with Jersey Shore Family Vacation. There were some people who felt like they should just give it up by now, but it is still running and going on its 4th season. But in December 2019, Nicole announced that she would not be returning and is officially quitting the show. Instead, she is now focusing on her Snooki shop and has started her own podcast with her best friend. It is called It's Happening with Snooki and Joey. But people online are basically saying that she's only famous for Jersey Shore, so giving up that is basically like giving up her fame. Next up at number 9 is Frankie Grande. When you Google his name, it says he's a dancer, actor, singer, producer, television host, and YouTube personality. But the only thing I know him as is Ariana Grande's brother. Turns out he's actually known for being on the TV series Big Brother, which kickstarted his career back in 2014. But we'd be lying if we said a lot of the media attention he has gotten is from the fact that his sister is one of the biggest pop stars in the entire world. He recently opened up during an interview with E! News and talked about his struggle with fame, which led him to a drugs and alcohol addiction. I honestly didn't even realize how famous he was. He is currently working on Broadway, so he does have a career going for himself outside of his sis, but he admitted that a music collaboration with her might be going on in the future. Some people are all for this, while others are claiming that he's just trying to carpool off of her success. You know what? I would do that too. My sister's Ariana Grande. Bitch, you put me in every music video, every song. I will learn to sing, play the tambourine for your show. I will do anything. Sliding into number 8 is Holly Madison. The blonde bombshell made a name for herself in Hollywood after she moved into the Playboy Mansion when she was just 20 years old. You might recognize her as one of the bunnies, or because she was Hugh's #1 girlfriend for many years, despite the massive age difference. After 6 years of living in the house as a girlfriend, she decided to call it quits, and after leaving, she didn't really have much of a career. It might be one of the reasons why years down the road in 2015, she decided to write a tell-all book where she exposed everything that actually went down in the mansion. She titled it Down the Rabbit Hole and shared some of her experiences, which were incredibly disturbing. But some of her former playmates said that her claims were false and that she wrote it to try and seek attention. Her novel did give her a ton of publicity, media interviews, and also sales. I am all for her sharing her story, absolutely, but we can't help but wonder if she did it as a chance to be famous again. In spot number 7 is Owen Wilson. I don't enjoy the fact that he's on this list. I actually really like seeing him in all those comedy movies. He was at the peak of his career when he shocked the world with a devastating suicide attempt. Someone we're used to seeing full of jokes, laughs, and life was struggling with a drug addiction. After recovering from the incident, he was still able to continue his career, but in the last decade, he's kind of faded away. I hate to say it, you guys, but he is just not famous anymore. The only headlines he was making was in 2018 when they claimed that he was refusing to meet his newborn daughter. And I know the phrase all publicity is good publicity, but in this case, I think it does more harm than good. Rumor has it though that we might see his face popping up in some films in 2020, so could he be making a big return? Here's hoping. Stealing our number 6 spot is Christina Milian. The actress and singer was once at the top of her game after signing to Def Jam Records at just 19 years old. She created some of the biggest hits on the Billboard charts like Dip It Low and AM to PM. Love that one. Which helped ignite her acting career. She was booking roles and seemed to be on a high, but then she kind of just disappeared from the spotlight. So what did she do that every celebrity does when their career is dead? She joined a reality TV show. Hers was called Christina Milian Turned Up and featured her own family. I'd be lying if I said it didn't help her career, but it was cancelled after just 2 seasons. It was announced that the network didn't want to renew the show for a 3rd season. She's soon to be a mother of 2, and although people won't forget who she is, it still looks like her fame has just come to an end. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Aubrey O'Day. She once had a legitimate music career after she gained fame from being a part of the girl group Danity Kane. From there, she went on to work on the MTV show called Making the Band. But eventually, the girl group split up and Aubrey was forced to make a career of her own after she was dismissed from that show as well. But it seemed that she was only famous for dating people more famous than her, like Diddy and DJ Pauly D. In more recent years, she has turned to other reality shows, appearing on different X on the Beach seasons, Celebrity Big Brother, Famous famously single. It kind of seems like she's hoping that being a reality star can just keep her in the spotlight. Here now at spot number 4 is Orlando Brown. Best known for his role in the hit Disney Channel TV show That's So Raven. He won over many hearts with his hilarious personality and charm, but as he grew older, his career just kind of hit rock bottom. He ran into trouble with the law on multiple occasions. He was first arrested in 2016 and charged with misdemeanor, domestic battery, obstruction of justice, and drug possession with intent to sell. Then in January 2018, he was arrested again and charged with battery, resisting a police officer, and possession of controlled substance. And after being sentenced to 45 days in jail, it looks like he is still hoping for some fame. He showed up on Dr. Phil with snake eye contacts and was talking just like a whole bunch of nonsense. It was almost humorous at first until you realize that he's clearly suffering mentally. He was making claims that he's got big plans in the works and we are all going to be shocked. But we're still waiting for that big moment. In the third spot on our list is Kate Gosselin. Ooh, it sounds like Jocelyn. Better known for being the other half on the TLC reality show John and Kate Plus 8. Their family life was documented for years and the show was a huge success. But then the two of them got separated in a very messy fashion, and she continued on her own spin-off show without him, called Kate Plus 8. How original. But she faced a lot of criticism for continuing on with her family show. It looked like she was attempting to just cling on to that reality TV momentum, and she announced in February 2019 that she was starting a new show called Kate Plus Date. With the help from her twins, she goes on all these blind dates and tries to find the right one. It received bad reviews and wasn't renewed for a second season as of the time of filming this video. It kinda just seems like a desperate attempt at staying relevant. Taking over the number 2 spot is Lil' Kim. The people of the internet have spoken and apparently they think that she should be on this list. She was once one of Hollywood's biggest rappers, but over the years her career has changed drastically. In 2005, she was sentenced to a year in federal prison and fined $50,000 after lying to a grand jury to protect friends involved in a shootout. After she was released, she left Atlantic Records and didn't release an album for 14 years. Fans were shocked in 2019 when she announced her album release because, no offense, but like we all thought that part of your career was over. She's currently trying to reprise her role in the industry, but there is a lot of negative controversy surrounding her, mainly for all the plastic surgery she's had done recently, and people are saying that it makes her look Caucasian, and they have an issue with that. Finally, at number 1, we have Tom Cruise. Why does the internet hate Tom Cruise, you guys? I literally typed his name into Google and one of the first links is his profile on Rotten Tomatoes, which received a 5%. It could be because he is one of the most involved celebrities of Scientology and he spent years preaching about it and defending it religiously. No pun intended. His ex-wife Katie Holmes even divorced him in an attempt to protect their daughter from the religion. He's a big memory from Hollywood's past, but for a while he's been completely forgotten about. People were actually shocked to learn that he is reprising his role in the new Top Gun Maverick movie, which is set to come out June 25th, 2020. Some diehard fans are really excited about it, while others aren't thrilled and wrote online that he should just give it up by now. What do you guys think? Do we hate Tom Cruise? Because the internet hates Tom Cruise. I don't hate Tom Cruise. I'm confused. Starting us off at number 10 is Tara Reid. It's been over 20 years since she broke out in the Hollywood scene for her role as Vicky in American Pie. Her career progressed outside of the series, but then she started receiving Razzie Awards for her performances, and over time her work just became less consistent. She was making tabloid after tabloid and never for anything good. She was stumbling drunk out of nightclubs and ended up checking into rehab in 2008 for a 2-month detox. She came back to movies in 2013 with the Sharknado series, but when speaking on air about the last movie in 2018, she appeared to be drunk or on some kind of drug. She was acting kind of like bizarre and slurring her words, and she honestly could not keep her eyes open. Not to mention, people are saying that her plastic surgery has changed her look so drastically that it could be affecting her career as well. Next up at number 9 is Tyler Oakley. The YouTuber quickly found stardom in the YouTube world just 1 year after posting his first video in 2007. He became an official YouTube partner and basically his life was set. He is well known for his LGBTQ advocacy and his entertaining blogs, but in more recent years his career started to take a hit. Stats were released online showing that his subscriber count has dropped drastically and his videos used to earn millions of views and now they average anywhere from 30 to 200,000. He made a huge deal with Ellen DeGeneres back in 2016, which people thought would skyrocket him back to the top, but the deal didn't go through and Ellen's team pulled the plug. In the past 2 weeks at the time of this recording, his video views were all under 40,000, which is a huge dip compared to the millions that he was once getting. Swipe our number 8 spot is Ashley Greene. You would know her as Alice Cullen from the Twilight series, which is the role that set her career in motion. But after the successful series ended, she booked other work that bombed at the box office, like her role in The Apparition, which only made back a third of its budget. Her last big significant role was in 2016 when she took on the role of Mia in the series Rogue for 17 episodes. But the series came to an end just 1 year later and she hasn't been in much ever since. But that doesn't mean she is not trying. She has some smaller credits to her name like TV, movies, and voiceover work. Her career just isn't on fire anymore. Let's just say that. In spot number 7 is Tyrese Gibson. He had a spot in the Fast and Furious franchise, but things went sour when he started to have an ongoing feud with his co-star Dwayne Johnson. He took the fights to social media and went on these bizarre and dramatic Instagram rants, even tweeting out that if Dwayne is in Fast 9, then he is quitting the series. That's dramatic. He ended up deleting the post later and blamed his anti-anxiety medication for his online outbursts. Things got really serious though when his ex-wife Norma Gibson filed a domestic abuse charge against him, which he claims was false. He says the lawsuit cost him his entire career, saying he was making $180,000 a month, and in 2018 it was around $51,000 a month. I would gladly take $51,000 a month. He had spent over $200,000 in the lawsuit with her and also pays $10,000 a month in child support. We haven't seen him in anything since 2016, but he still enjoys ranting and feuding with people online. Moving on to number 6, we have Dustin Diamond. He was a massive child star after appearing on Saved by the Bell. He reprised his roles on all of the series from 1989 all the way until 2000. But since his days as Screech, the only things he's gotten attention for is his sex tape and for going to jail for stabbing a guy during a bar fight. After his career was basically dead, it seemed like he wanted to grasp onto previous fame, so he wrote a tell-all book called Behind the Bell. But in the book, he painted the worst possible descriptions of his former cast members and spoke about how much sex he had as a result of his success as a teen. Classy. The last credit to his name was a small role on a TV series in 2018, but I'm sure he will try to come up with another way to become relevant again. Maybe another book. Halfway through at number 5 is Stacey Dash. The beautiful actress made a name for herself by taking on a role in the 1995 classic movie Clueless. Down the road, she also received praise for her time on the Fox News show called Outnumbered. But she did some damage to her successful career after voicing her political views by becoming a conservative commentator. She ended up losing her job on Outnumbered. Fox News announced that her 3-year term was terminated due to some controversial comments she made about race and a suspension after she swore on air while talking about President Barack Obama. Since then, she has turned to writing, where she continues to discuss conservative issues, and she is still trying to pursue an acting career. Her last credit was in 2013, but she is currently doing some voiceover work for a project called Dogtown. Whatever that is. Stealing the number 4 spot on our list is Zachary Ty Bryan. He found success early in his career, landing the role of Brad Taylor on the Home Improvement series. His career was at an all-time high, but he decided to retire from acting altogether in 2009, and has not been in anything ever since. Turns out he didn't want to leave the industry though. He wanted to work behind the scenes and work as a producer, but some of his work received pretty bad reviews. Any fame that he still has comes from his time on Home Improvement all those years ago. In 2018, he went on Access Hollywood and talked about the show with his former co-star Taryn Smith. Even after all these years, he is still doing interviews for a show that he did over like a decade ago. Alright guys, we have made it to number 3 and we got Jeremy Jackson. Most people probably picture Pamela Anderson in a bathing suit when they think of Baywatch. I know I do. But Jeremy was also well known for his role on the show. He started on the show for 8 years and was a heartthrob of the 90s. But he couldn't keep up with the fame and started getting involved with heavy drugs like ecstasy and cocaine. In and out of his sobriety, he would pop up on the screen here and there, trying to keep his career going. But in 2015, he was arrested for 2 different stabbing cases and got fired from his time on Celebrity Big Brother for sexually assaulting one of his housemates. He has butchered his reputation to say the least, but it has not stopped him from trying. He is still booking some smaller independent work and recently revealed that he suffers from bipolar disorder, so I don't want to ignore the fact that he might actually suffer from a serious mental illness. Taking over the number 2 spot is Tila Tequila. She became famous back in the day through her MySpace profile. Some would say that she was the start of the whole social media celebrity thing, but nowadays she's one of the most hated females in Hollywood. All her hard work was a waste because she randomly posted this weird blog called Why I Sympathize with Hitler, and in it she wrote that he was not actually a bad guy, and people have the story all wrong. Her bizarre behavior continued, and she posted a picture of herself in a seductive Nazi costume, posing in front of the Auschwitz concentration camp. And then went as far as saying that the Jewish political commentator Ben Shapiro should be gassed and sent back to Israel. She is now a mother of 2, but recently announced that she's going to release some new gospel music, and that this will be her year. Looking forward to that. Finally, at number 1, we have Danielle Bregoli. You might know her as Bad Baby. She was the girl who went on Dr. Phil and started threatening the audience members by saying, "Catch me outside, how about that?" She literally tried to fight Dr. Phil's audience members. Not even kidding. The fact that she's even famous in the first place personally annoys me, but it is what it is. She was actually on Dr. Phil for being disrespectful and abusive to her mom, and somehow she became a huge rap artist by the time she was 16 years old. Her current net worth is $4 million. When I was 16, I was making $10 an hour slaving away at Tim Hortons. But she's not only famous for her music, she's also famous for her erratic behavior and getting into feuds with other celebrities. In October 2019, footage was released showing her attacking a YouTuber, Wovicky, in a studio. They had a brawl for like a solid 10 minutes, all of it being caught on tape. The big debate is, some people will say that her time has passed and that she is irrelevant, but others will argue that she still does have a fan base, so she is still technically famous. What do you guys think? Starting off our list, number 10 is Kevin Federline. I'll be the one to say it, he was only ever famous because he started dating Britney Spears and became the father of her kids. He was actually her backup dancer at the time they started dating, and people thought they were the it couple when they got married in 2004. But their relationship became toxic very quickly. Maybe that's why she wrote a song with that title. Only 2 years later, Britney filed for divorce and filed for full custody of their 2 sons. Her career continued on, she is still an icon, but his obviously faded seeing as she was the source of his fame. So what is he up to nowadays? Well, he is a DJ. Yep, he DJs different events, parties, and even strip clubs. Next up at number 9 is Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. They started acting when they were just infants and were making millions of dollars before they were even teenagers. For over a decade, they appeared in their own TV series and movies, owned their own clothing line, and even produced some of their own projects. But then they kind of up and left the big screen and Hollywood altogether. The thing about the twins is they don't care if they are famous or not. They've never had any kind of social media, like ever. So they've always lived a more sheltered life ever since they quit acting. Nowadays, they work full-time in the fashion world and both married men who are much older than them. Their younger sister Elizabeth Olsen has taken on their fame by starring in the Marvel franchise as Scarlet Witch, but they do not seem to mind passing on that torch. Nowadays you can find the paparazzi just snapping pictures of them having a smoke together. Basically all the headlines they're making these days. Coming into the number 8 spot is Rob Schneider. The actor and comedian was once taking on big roles in movies next to Adam Sandler. In the 1990s and early 2000s, he was basically everywhere in the industry, but nowadays you don't really see much of him. It's not that he got involved in some kind of controversy or drama, a lot of people have said that his time has just passed. It doesn't help that some of his movies received bad reviews and he was even sued for one of them. Back in 2010, investors sued him for his straight-to-DVD movie called The Chosen One because they wanted to recoup their investment since the movie didn't do well. That doesn't really paint a pretty picture for other casting directors wanting to work with him. It's been a few years since we last saw him on the screen, but he is still trying to stay afloat. He is currently on a stand-up tour that most people didn't even know about. Cruising into the number 7 spot is Mary Zilba. Fans of The Real Housewives of Vancouver will be familiar with her face. She starred in the series for 2 seasons. But after the series came to an end, it looked like she was trying to find her place in the industry. She did a few things that had fans raising eyebrows, wondering if she is doing it to try and keep relevant. She started her own wine label called Love by Mary Zilba, and then she went on to do behind the screen work and started her own production company called Lady Pants Productions. On top of that, she started her own cannabis company, but this did come after her son had had a seizure disorder and had to use cannabis to help, so that one we can give her credit for. But she did sign this weird deal to produce digital shows about marijuana, including a weed baking show called Stoners in Stilettos. And people don't really know how to feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that. And at number 6 is Kyle Massey. He found his place in the limelight after taking on the role of Corey Baxter on the Disney series That's So Raven. He was a huge child star with a ton of success, and it looked like his career was smooth sailing from there on out. But then he grew up and got sued for sending explicit material to a minor. According to court documents, in March 2019, he was sued for sending explicit material to a minor, attempting to commit a lewd act with a minor, molesting a minor, and causing emotional distress. He was 27 years old when the allegations took place, and the young girl and her mother say that Kyle was like a father figure to her. She sued the actor for $1.5 million. He is currently just doing sponsored posts on Instagram for Bang energy drinks, and also hosts for this app called BNDR Live, which is a live streaming app that was apparently recently created. Halfway through at number 5 is Michael Cera. People quickly adored his dorky and quiet personality when he popped up in movies like Juno, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, and Superbad. But his performances always kind of blended together because it didn't quite feel like he was even acting. Honestly, it just felt like it was him. But he did move away from movies and took on a role in the series Arrested Development. That's pretty much all he's been up to all these years. We don't really hear too much about him. But honestly, we never really did. He's always remained fairly quiet in the industry. Here we are at number 4 with Ashley Simpson. She followed in her sister's footsteps, Jessica Simpson, and created a music and acting career for herself. And she was successful at both. That was until the epic SNL lip-syncing fail back in 2004 that pretty much ruined her career. If for some reason you haven't seen it, she was performing her song on SNL and the music track started playing, exposing to the world that she was lip-syncing. Not only was she doing music though, she also appeared in some feature films as well. However, in more recent years, you don't really see much of her. Her and her husband Evan Ross were doing a reality show called Ashley and Evan, but announced that it was cancelled in September 2019. She claims the reasoning is because they are both working on their own projects. We're not really sure what the mother of two will get up to next, but it probably won't be something that gets her back on our screens again. Taking over our 3rd spot is Mike Myers. He is responsible for bringing us two of the most iconic characters in comedy movies, Wayne Campbell from Wayne's World and of course, Austin Powers. He also found a lot of success in the Shrek franchise, seeing as he brought the Green Ogre to life for all of us. But when he started to venture out of that franchise, things didn't go as well as he probably had hoped. He took on the movie The Love Guru in 2008, which he actually co-wrote and co-produced, but it completely bombed. It was a flop. Later on in 2013, he turned to directing, which he actually had some success with. He has made his way back onto the screen, but in the last 4 years, he only has a couple of credits to his name. It was rumored that he might be coming back for Austin Powers 4, but nothing is confirmed. That could give him a make or break situation. Moving along to spot number 2 is James Franco. His career-ending scandals have been heavily documented in the past decade, and it all started when screenshots showed he was talking to an underage girl, trying to rent them a hotel room for the night. In more recent years, his career officially came to an end in 2017 after 2 women came forward making claims that his acting school sexually exploited them while they were his students. In their suit, they said he had his students perform explicit sex scenes on camera in exchange for promised roles in his future films, and also that he would give extremely low pay for nudity and sex scenes. The 2 students are suing him, and even though he is facing lawsuit, he is still putting out movies. In September 2019, he produced and directed a movie Zeroville, which was titled the worst film of the year. It received 23% on Rotten Tomatoes and only made a total of $69,000 at the box office, which is obviously significantly lower than his usual millions. We've made it to number 1, and we have the figure skater Tonya Harding. Her story was turned into a documentary in 2017 called I, Tonya because it tells a horrific story of the attack that happened back in 1994. To sum it all up, she and her team organized an attack on her rival and competition, Nancy Kerrigan, who were both qualifying for the Winter Olympics. A man ran up to her when she got off the ice and smashed her landing knee with a crowbar, and she had to withdraw from the next day's qualifiers competition. Tonya accepted a plea bargain and pleaded guilty to conspiracy to hinder prosecution. She was banned for life from competing after that. Rightfully so. After the documentary came out, she received a ton of media attention, which it looks like she enjoyed. She even got a 2-hour special called Truth and Lies, the Tonya Harding story. In it, she admitted that she knew about the attack, but says that she was actually a pawn in the whole scheme and that she deserves an apology. But people feel like she should have never been given this attention in the first place. And at number 10, Bow Wow.
Bow Wow made a name for himself back when he was much younger and referred to himself as Lil Bow Wow. But now that he's older and losing relevancy fast, he's resorted to lying to look cool. And he's definitely posted some social media mistakes over the years. One was when he edited a photo of the original Death Row Records lineup from 1996 and included his face in it, which people called out for being photoshopped. Then he tried to brag about the fact that he was on a private jet, but his followers called that out for being fake too. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of people calling him out for fake stuff. And since his last acting and music successes were well over a decade ago, he's scraping the barrel to see what people will still watch. But it seems that Bow Wow is well aware of his sliding success, and even tweeted and then deleted, quote, "I'ma quit all this and downsize my home, sell everything, and go to work at GameStop," back in 2018. Since then, it looks like he's taken to YouTube and is having pretty decent success, so I guess we'll see if it sticks. In at number 9, Nicole Scherzinger. Nicole Scherzinger was the breakout star from the girl group, the Pussycat Dolls. And we found out later that she was the star because she was the only one in the group that actually sang anything. Yeah, like that's true. I didn't realize that. Like if you look in the credits, like it's literally her doing the main and the background vocals. Crazy. But after the group fell apart, she did her best to go solo, but her solo albums were not as successful as she'd hoped. After a lull in the biz, she became a judge on the X Factor UK, but allegedly she was fired in 2017. But she did have success as Grisabella in Cats on Broadway, but was disappointed when she wasn't considered for the movie remake. Although now I'm sure she was glad she wasn't included in that, disaster. Now she holds a guest spot on the Sidemen's YouTube original series, The Sidemen Show. And she appeared in a David Dobrik vlog, which is, quite a step down from where she once was. Of course, being in a David Dobrik vlog is iconic and amazing, but little lower than what she was before. In at number 8, Cody Simpson. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the last time I cared at all about Cody Simpson was right after I learned that he was dating Miley Cyrus. But when they broke up, I went right back into not caring. In 2010, Cody was on fire and he was basically the Walmart Justin Bieber, but still very, very successful. But after he abruptly left his record label, he started touring with an old school rock band, enrolled at UCLA Film School, and started modeling too. But at about this time, he started to go into relative obscurity, and everyone just kind of started to forget about him. That is until Miley Cyrus rebounded with Cody and made him relevant again for the about a year or so that they were dating. Since 2019, he's released tons of music, so maybe his comeback will be happening any day now. In at number 7, Frankie J. Grande. I kind of feel bad for Frankie because after all, he's living in the gigantic shadow of his younger sister, Ariana Grande. But it seems that being Ariana's brother has kind of become like his shtick to get into the limelight. But unlike his sister, Frankie hasn't really had much success with his ventures. And because of this, he takes practically any opportunity that's handed to him. And he's been on reality TV probably more than anyone in history. He's also well known for being one of the most hated people from Big Brother, using his relation to Ariana to stay in the house. And it's a tough spot. Like I get he can't just do a normal job because that could put him in danger and really just not be a good look for the family in some ways. But he doesn't have much going for him other than, that familial connection. So I'm hoping he gets picked up for something good soon. And at number 6, Kevin Jonas. Any member of the Jonas Brothers will always be a big deal, especially for girls like me that grew up with them. But for Kevin, it's sad to say he was kind of the odd one out in terms of the group. Kevin was the first of his brothers to get married, have kids, and settle down out of the spotlight, with rumors circulating that he was the one that pushed for the band to split up in 2013. But right after the split, him and his new wife Danielle decided to try the reality TV route, and they started a show, Married to Jonas, which only lasted 2 seasons. After his failed stint on his own, his family moved back to suburbia, and he started a contracting business in New Jersey. But with a name like Jonas, you can never be out of the spotlight for too long. So him and his wife still appear at charity events and pose for promotional materials. However, the band came back in 2018, and although they had tons of excitement in the beginning, it seems to have worn off, and all the brothers are just settling down now. And honestly, at this point, I don't even think Kevin really wants fame anymore, so good for him for getting out of that then. Halfway number 5, Ray J. I don't know about you guys, but when I hear the name Ray J, the only thing I think of is Kim Kardashian. And I feel like a lot of people think the same way. And I think it's safe to say the only reason Ray J is relevant in the slightest is because of their tape. And after the tape, Kim K and her family have gone on to become some of the most famous people in the world, while Ray J went into obscurity. Ray J was in the Sharknado franchise, which isn't all that impressive, and his music was somewhat successful. And it seems the only way he gets back into the headlines is by bringing up Kim's name. And the last time he had any sort of relevancy, he was on Celebrity Big Brother talking about how Kim cheated on him. So I don't know, I think he maybe just needs to get out of the spotlight for his own good. In at number 4, Heidi Montag. Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag got their stardom from The Hills, and even though they dished out their dirty laundry for a paycheck, they don't regret it. The couple then went through tons of ventures to make some money off their name and fame, like writing a book and being in any reality TV show possible. Even though the couple admitted they squandered their money as fast as they get it. In 2018, MTV rebooted The Hills, and the couple felt like this was gonna be their ultimate comeback. But like with most reboots, the hype quickly faded and the show was a flop. In at number 3, Angus T. Jones. Angus T. Jones was a child star that grew into adulthood while he was shooting the hit show 2.5 Men. But when he started to get older, he started to get major angst for showbiz and turned against his career. He even went so far to tell people to not watch his show or TV in general, which, isn't a smart thing for an actor to do. Jones ended up quitting the hit show in 2013 to attend college, but only a few days later he wanted back in on the action once he was asked to make a cameo in the 2.5 Men finale. He worked at an events company for some time, then got cast in a web show, and his horizons really don't look so great now. In at number 2, Brenda Song. I will never not see Brenda Song as London Tipton because that show was just too big of a part of my life for me to ever think of any of the characters as anything different. And of course, being in any Disney project like that is gonna catapult you to fame, which is exactly what it did for Brenda. But after the show ended, the acting roles didn't really come as often for her, and the only notable role she was in was a small part in The Social Network, which, fun fact, is one of my favorite movies of all time. She also is known for dating some interesting men, going from Miley Cyrus's brother Trace to Macaulay Culkin. And even though Culkin is a massive star that will always be a notable Hollywood name, especially around Christmas, it really hasn't helped bolster her fame much. And finally, at number 1, Rita Ora. Rita Ora was once named the most irrelevant pop star of all time. Well, in one article she was. She's kind of a funny person in the sense that she's famous and the Daily Mail writes about her all the time, but no one really knows why she's famous. A lot of people think she was a pop star, but she really wasn't, and she hasn't even released all that much music. And how she landed her spot on the X Factor, no one will really ever know. And she also manages to get invited to very high-class events, like award shows and even the Met Gala. The most notable thing she's done outside of her lackluster music is acting in the 50 Shades franchise and appearing on America's Next Top Model. I guess only time will tell where her career takes her next. In at number 10, Noah Cyrus. Noah is the younger sister of massive star Miley Cyrus, as well as the daughter of Billy Ray Cyrus. And of course, growing up in someone's shadow is never easy, and my heart goes out to her for that. But after years of trying to branch out into a successful solo career apart from her sister, it hasn't really been successful. And it might be time for her to realize that not many people know her apart from being Miley's younger sister. She talked about growing up in Miley's shadow in one interview, saying, quote, "Being born in the family I was in, everybody gave me such a hard time for having a hard time being Miley's little sister. But I always felt like I was the person that no one gave a about due to what people said about me online. And I know it can be really hard to be your own person when you have an ultra famous sibling. However, getting into music where Miley and her father had already been successful was probably not a great idea if she wanted to become recognizable in her own right." And at number 9, Jonathan Cheban. Jonathan Cheban is a publicist by trade, but is known for being a socialite and influencer who is BFF with the Kardashians. He makes regular appearances on the show and is a notable character at this point in the series. But other than being famous by association, he was never really famous for anything on his own merit. He recently decided to become food god and made his Instagram an eating blog, but he's had moderate success. But honestly, I will say that I do like him on the show, and he does add a bit of spice to the show, every now and then when it needs it, especially in the Miami days. He was like the best when they were in Miami. I'll say that about him. And at number 8, Jessie J. Jessie J was huge in the 2010s, and her powerhouse vocals and songwriting abilities made her really successful in that time. She even collabed with Ariana Grande and Nicki Minaj on the hit song Bang Bang. But over the years, each of her albums have gone on to sell less and less, and she's become less relevant in the industry. The only time that I really heard any news about her was when she started dating Channing Tatum. But since they decided to split in 2020, I really haven't heard much news about her since. and I don't think that she'll be making a comeback anytime soon. And at number 7, Allie and AJ. If any of you guys are around my age, then you definitely know who Allie and AJ are. I personally grew up with them on the Disney Channel, and I still know the words to some of their hit songs. The sisters actually had the most successful music career of any Disney star, and most impressively, they actually wrote all their own music too. Their biggest hit, Potential Breakup Song, was so huge that most of you probably know it. But sadly, after that massive hit, they decided to leave the Disney machine and was never able to reach the heights of their past success again. The girls struggled so much at one point, they rebranded themselves as 78 Violet. But they decided to come back recently as Allie and AJ again, and even released a Potential Breakup Song explicit version to try and recapture some of their old fan base. The girls are honestly making phenomenal music, and I wish them all the success in the world, but sadly, they just aren't that famous anymore. And at number 6, Tekashi 6ix9ine. Tekashi 6ix9ine became a huge star overnight and leveraged his unique and frequently mocked look with bright hair and face tattoos to become a big name in rap. He also had commercial success too, with 3 of his singles hitting the Billboard Hot 100, and his music videos get ridiculous views. However, many have accused him of buying bots to get those views. But his fall has been just as fast as his rise, and after he was sent to prison for snitching, as well as being accused of sexual crimes, even his fans are a bit tired of him, and he seems to be fading into irrelevancy very fast. Halfway at number 5, Jason Derulo. Jason Derulo is interesting because he comes into mainstream attention every few years, but fades just as fast. Jason was one of the biggest stars of the 2000s, and I'm sure you all know his signature opening line, Jason Derulo. Sorry, you know I had to. But after his rise, he slowly started to fade, and I'm sure none of you have even thought about Jason Derulo since. However, he recently came back into mainstream attention with his focus on TikTok. He was really the first mainstream celebrity to adopt TikTok and use it to become relevant again. And it actually worked. His newest single, Savage Love, landed Derulo his first top 10 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 since 2015. And Jason knows what he's doing. He said in one interview, quote, "It's important to reinvent yourself as much as possible. Otherwise, people just get tired of it. I've tried everything under the sun at least 3 times. And although I respect his hustle on TikTok, it seems like he's fighting for relevancy with teenage TikTok stars. And at number 4, Paris Hilton. So this one might be a bit controversial, but if it wasn't for her recent documentary that brought her back into mainstream attention, it would be hard to argue that she still has the pull that she once had. Paris is obviously an icon that started the influencer lifestyle back when she was starring in hit reality TV shows. So don't take this as me disrespecting her career. But as the years went on and regular people were becoming more sought after influencers than her, she changed directions, focusing more on business endeavors and DJing. When her documentary was released on YouTube in 2020, it got tons of attention as people were dying to see what she had hidden behind the curtains. But since the hype of the documentary has died down, so has the attention surrounding her, which is evident from the fact that her YouTube channel only has 1 million subscribers. And at number 3, Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez rose to mainstream attention because of his hit song, Saved, in 2015. And he became a household name after, but only had a number of hits since. And it seems that the only reason he's come back into the spotlight is because of the unfortunate incident that took place between him and Megan Thee Stallion in 2020, which we still don't know the full story about. And to me, it seems that unless Tory is found innocent, he's gonna fall back into obscurity as well as getting some jail time. And at number 2, Rita Ora. Honestly, I'm still not sure why Rita Ora was ever considered famous in the first place, but other than the fact that she paid a restaurant to have a COVID party recently, she's pretty irrelevant in the media and the music business. She was a success in the Europe/UK market many years ago, but it didn't really translate over to the US market. Her success at one point was so lukewarm that she was actually dropped by her label too. Ora refuses to bow out and is trying really hard to keep her career afloat, but other than having famous friends, she really doesn't have much on her resume. And finally, at number 1, the Olsen twins. The world best knows the Olsen twins from their child stardom days, and with the rise of their talented sister, Elizabeth Olsen, it's become clearer than ever that the Olsen twins are really not famous anymore. But the best part is, they don't really care, and considering the fact that the two have never had social media accounts and haven't dabbled in the entertainment industry since their child stardom, they have left the door wide open for their sister Elizabeth to come into the spotlight. I think if anything, the media needs to realize the Olsen twins aren't famous anymore, so that Elizabeth doesn't have to answer any more questions about being related to them.